What's going on, my dudes? Chensley11 here, and welcome back to another episode in the A to Z series, where we are going through every single champion in League of Legends and giving you a basic or beginner's guide on each of them. In today's episode, we're going to be showing you how to play Morgana Support for beginners. So this will be a Morgana guide, and we'll be going through everything Morgana. So her build, her runes, and most importantly, her abilities and what they do. So if you're super new to Morgana, you can watch this video and get an idea of how she works, what to build, and what she's good and weak at. Also, I'll be throwing out some general tips while the game's playing, like some support tips and whatnot, as I always do in this series. So if you do enjoy it, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe as well. And we do also have another series on the channel where we're just playing ranked, where you guys can pick champions to play, and I play them for fun. So if that sounds interesting as well, go check that out. So Morgana, before we get into Morgana, just a quick mention or quick spiel about this game in particular. So this is just I think it was like a normal game. It's quite long. We get really strong, and the top laner on our team leaves at some point. So it's a 4v5. So it's a really fun game to watch. So I hope you enjoy the gameplay in the background. But it isn't the focus. The focus is going through everything, and I'll comment on the gameplay when it is important or when it's relevant. So I hope you guys enjoy. So Morgana is obviously a support. She used to be played mid a lot, and she has a little bit of that mid DNA, and she's since been reworked. So she still kind of can play mid as well, but in my opinion, she's great at support because she can set up your team very well. She can make your ADC, in this case Jhin, we're playing with Jhin, can set him up to get free kills early and snowball the game. So your objective is to win the laning phase, try and get the tower down, and then transition to mid and do the same there, while your mid laner potentially swaps down here and just collects waves. So what you can see what we're doing is just poking as much as we can with our Q. And we'll go through all the abilities in a lot of detail in a moment. But just poking with our Q, and you start, and I'll go through this in a moment when we go through the build, but you start your spell Thief's Blade, and that you can start stacking it up with your 20 gold every time you hit something. So that's your objective in the laning phase, and to just protect your ADC once you get your shield. Other than that, try and chip them down with your Q, get them low, and then you can go for the all-in with the ignite. One thing I will say is with the Q, Morgana's a very strong champion because the Q is extremely strong ability. However, when it's down for a while, and then you can lose fights and trades and even die because the enemy team can pressure you because you don't have that threat. It's almost like a Blitzcrank hook, exactly the same, if you're familiar with the Blitzcrank hook. So you want to make sure you're hitting them often. This particular game, I'm managing to hit a lot of them, so it's really, really good. It's stacking up my spell thieves really fast, and also it's poking them out, which is great. So let's get into the runes while we talk about this laning phase a little bit as well. So the runes, I'll put them up on the screen. So you want to go Arcane Comet, Mana Flow Band. Now Arcane Comet is quite obvious because if you hit a Q, your Arcane Comet will fly out and land every single time because they're stunned, they can't move, or they're rooted. So your Arcane Comet will land and deal bonus damage every time. Mana Flow Band is great, gives you extra mana, and you're going to be hitting champions a lot. Transcendence for the ability haste, awesome. Scorch, again, all in on that poke style in the laning phase, which is what you're doing as support. When you're playing support, your goal is to be the menace in the lane, and your focus is only on trading and trying to get good trades, because you don't have to worry about farming. So that's why I like playing support with these type of mages that deal damage, because I can have fun with it. So Scorch. And if you guys are new to the game in general, I think Morgana is a great pick to learn support. And it'll help you learn a bit more of those mid lane champions as well, because she has a little bit of that mid lane DNA as well. She doesn't have a lot of heals and shields per se, but she still has a lot of that damage. And this build in particular we're going to go through is more of a damage build, so it'll be fun. Also, perfect timing and biscuit delivery. The reason why you go perfect timing is because you want to rush your Zhonya's, and we'll go through the build in a moment. So that just saves you some money. Plus, Morgana is one of those unique champions where the stopwatch / Zhonya's Hourglass, which is that stasis effect, is really, really strong on her because of her ultimate and the combination and synergy it provides. And you'll see that throughout the video. I use that combo a few times. All right, so let's go through the ability order. So you want to start with your Q level 1 for obvious reasons. Your main source of poke. It's your first max as well. W level 2, E level 3. The W for the added poke after you land the Q. The E is for that CC shield for your teammate. So then Q max, then W max, then E max third, and then take a point in your ultimate whenever you can. When I say max, it means to always take a point in that ability whenever you can. So you always take points in your Q whenever you can, unless it's your ultimate. That takes first preference. And then after that, you prioritize your W, then you prioritize your E. So that's the skill priority, or the ability order. Let's quickly go through the build and the summoner spells. So for Morgana, Ignite, so always take Flash, and then Ignite for me is the best one. There are some instances where you can go Exhaust if they have like a all-in champ, maybe like Yasuo or Kog'Maw or something like that, where you can kind of, Kog'Maw for the later game if you feel like you need it. But I always go for the Ignite for the lane pressure and for the snowball potential. In this particular lane, we're playing against a GP who's traditionally a top laner. It's kind of an easy lane because I know he's not going to be able to bully us. So I'm going really hard on trying to bully. Just got to be, you got to just make sure you're worried about, concentrating on the ganks. Unfortunately, I tried to dodge the Viego gank and I ended up missing. So I ended up getting chunked and I had to flash as well. Fortunately, Belvedeth is here as well to try and counter gank, see if we can get anything. Also a mid laner, so we can see if we can pick anything up. So we end up getting 2 kills with our W, which is kind of... I mean, it's fortunate for us. It's not amazing for you to be taking all the kills as a support, but it is... On champs like Morgana, it's not the worst because she does a lot of damage, so it's fine. So, okay, let's go through the build as well. So, as I mentioned earlier, Spell Thief's Edge is a must as your starting item because you're playing support. You're not going to be getting minions, so you need that income source. Plus, when you complete your quest, it turns into a good item. The Shard of True Ice, which gives you 40 AP, some health, and mana regen, plus the gold, and you get the wards, right? That's what's important about support as well. Just in general, your role in the lane is to poke and try and win lane, but then it's to become almost like the warding member of your team, the main warding member of your team. So waiting for Yone to snap back to his place, then we queue, and then we get the shutdown as well. So we're 3-0, and you can see we absolutely run away with this game. Ideally, I'd like to be giving some of that gold to my carries, but that's okay. We end up being the carry ourselves on support Morgana. Alright, so yeah, Spell Thieves. And then you want to try and rush your Phoenix Codex and Boots. Phoenix Codex builds into Zhonya's, so it's a really good first back item because it gives you the CDR and a good amount of damage. Boots is also fantastic. Now, in this particular case, I ended up finishing the Zhonya's without purchasing the Boots because I could do the whole item. And it's still not even clear if that was the best thing to do because Boots are very, very important if you want to be roaming a lot. And because we're fed, we should be roaming more. So, questionable decision, but now at least I have my full Zhonya's built, which is really good. Then you want to go for your Leandri's Anguish, which is your mythic item. And then you want to go, this does depend on the enemy team, but Morellonomicon and then Riley's Crystal Scepter if you need it. Potentially you can go Demonic Embrace instead or Chemtac Purifier. It depends on the game, right? But for the first few items, the Zhonya's and the Leandri's Anguish and the Morello's should be good in most games. Alright, so here we're just waiting for our jungler to rock up and then we use our Q to stun the Viego on the tower. And we're turning this fight around. Now, we do have our ultimate coming up soon when we level up. Jhin has his ultimate. And we do have our Zhonya still. So we're just trying to land that long-range poke. And we hit the GP again, stunning him in place, allowing the Jhin to hit his final shot of his ultimate. So we're doing not too bad in the lane. We're kind of winning the laning phase. We're really strong. And you can see our Q damage is ramping up a lot. So when I have this much pressure, I like to make sure I'm focusing around the dragons. Because I'm on this side of the map. So my focus should be on trying to win the lane. So we can convert that pressure into getting dragons. Which is what we did there, which is fantastic. I'm going to pop this orb to get some vision into the enemy jungle. See what's going on. So their top side of their jungle is probably up because all their bottom side is done. So that's probably where the Viego is. And that's where he was. He was in the mid lane on his chickens. Unfortunately, our Kiana dies. But that's it. That's what it is. What it is. All right. Let's start going through Morgana's ability so you know what's going on now. Okay. So we're going to start off with Morgana's passive, which is called Soul Siphon. We're going to quickly wait and see what we do here with the Viego, with the Yone. So you see here, I stun him, and then I put my W down, and then I Zhonya's. So he can no longer kill me. So that's why Zhonya's is awesome in Morgana. Because of her ultimate, you're a very close range kind of champion, because you want to get into range to hit the tether. And we'll go through the ultimate in a moment. So the being close range is obviously important. Plus, that's why you need the Zhonya's, right? So you can go into stasis like that and then still survive and do your job. All right, let's go through the passive, which is called Soul Siphon. Very simple passive. Basically, Morgana heals herself for 18% of the post-mitigated damage dealt by her abilities against enemy champions or large minions and medium and large monsters. So what does that mean? It means all the damage that Morgana's doing with her Q and her W, she's healing for 18% of the post-mitigated damage. Now, post-mitigated damage means after the magic resist has been calculated. Okay, so if they have some magic resist and you hit them with your Q and they take less damage on the Q because of your magic resist, that damage that went through, 18% of that you heal yourself. So all of that means is Morgana has a little bit of sustain in lane. Combine that with the Biscuits rune that you take early means that she can kind of stay in lane relatively healthy if you don't go too ham and bully the lane and outpace the laners. Okay, so that's why I think she's really, really good support. She's one of my favorite supports in the game. So that's all that Soul Siphon is. If you're super new to the game, it's kind of something you don't have to think about. It'll just be giving you extra health as you play, right? So you don't have to worry about it or anything. So the Yone comes in. Here's a good example of where Zhonya's would have been good, but we didn't have it. And then we ended up getting the... Don't know how we actually killed the Yone. I can't remember if there was a W underneath her or if it was my burn or something that was going on. Or my ignite, possibly. I have to go back and have a look. But you can see we roamed mid, got another kill, and we also freed up our mid laner to get some farm and back for free. Maybe potentially get a plate. Viego is coming, so we got to be careful. Now, roaming is not risky, but you need to know when to do it. And it's kind of bad if your bot laner is really far behind and their enemy bot lane has a lot of engage. They can collapse on him. We get another kill, unfortunately. I kind of want Jhin to get some of these, but sometimes when you're snowballing like this, when you got a lot of kills and items, your damage is so high that you just start getting kills and then it keeps going and going, right? So not ideal, but we're just trying to set up. Remember, Jhin is still getting a lot of gold from all the assists and the free farm he's getting, so it isn't the end of the world. Kiana is also coming back in here to try and get some kills. We put the W down and we're trying to land that long range Q. Unfortunately, we miss it, but the Kiana cleans up and gets a double kill. So fantastic game so far. So it looks like it's smooth sailing. It would have been like a 25-minute game, but you'll see soon our top lane Riven decides to peace out. So let's go through the main ability of Morgana, which is Dark Binding, which is my favorite ability on her, obviously, and it's the Q, and it's the bread and butter, right? It is Morgana. Morgana throws out a sphere of dark magic in a target direction that deals magic damage to the first enemy hit. That includes minions. So that's one of the biggest weaknesses with the Q, that it can hit minions and monsters. So you got to make sure if you're trying to hit an enemy champion, they can only be the one that gets hit, right? And it roots them for a duration. Now, the duration goes up to 3 seconds at level 9 when it's fully maxed. The duration goes up like a quarter of a second each time you level it up. So it's really important to max that straight away, so to increase that root duration, especially if the enemy team are building some tenacity, which is the stat that reduces like your CC duration length. Okay, so like Mercury Treads will reduce the amount of time that you're stunned by Morgana Bind, if you didn't know. So that's what tenacity is. So Dark Binding roots them for a duration. The magic damage has a massive AP scaling, and what that means is the more magic damage you build, the more damage it does. So it actually does a lot of damage at level 9, especially when you have a lot of magic damage built. So you can see, and a lot of AP. You can see there, I went to try and hit the Yona and I hit the red buff. So again, that's the weakness about the Q. It hits anything. It hits whatever it hits first. It doesn't like go through minions like a Lux Bind or something. Another weakness of the Q is it's so powerful that if you waste it and don't hit anyone with it, then you almost are very, very vulnerable. So you can see here, I use my Q to stun the backline Renata. Then we use our ultimate to stun the Yona, and then I Zhonya's instantly so I don't die, which allows him to get stunned into place and then my team to pick up the triple kill. So we end up playing more like a support there, where we set up the kills for my team rather than taking them for myself, which leads to a dragon. So that's a really good example of why, again, Zhonya's is fantastic on Morgana. So the Q, I mean, it's a very simple ability. I don't have to spend too much time on it. You throw it out, it stuns them or roots them so they can't move for like 4 seconds. 3 seconds at max rank. So it's really, really strong. That root can set up a lot of picks in the mid game, especially if you're like waiting inside of a bush. And then they walk up to you and you hit them with a bind. If your team's waiting, they'll die because there's no way unless they have like a cleanse or a QSS to get out of it. Or like in this particular game, Gangplank has these oranges that can get him out of a CC. They're dead, essentially. Especially if you have a backup there, if you hit them with a Q. So the Q, very, very important ability to land, if you can land it. Now, let's go through Tormented Shadow, which is the W. As we land a nice bind on the Renata, and then my team pick up the Q again. So that's what you're trying to do in the mid game with the Q. I'll just, before we get into the W, is look for those binds, put the W underneath them, let damage tick, and then let your team get the kills. If they are not doing enough damage, sometimes your W will take the kill. But again, when you're playing Morgana in this particular build that we went through, it's a lot of damage items, so you having more items and damage is fine. Alright, so the Tormented Shadow. So it has a passive and it has an active component. So we'll go through the passive first. So Tormented Shadow's current cooldown is reduced by 5% of the maximum health. Sorry, is reduced by 5% of the maximum whenever Siphon Soul triggers. Okay, so it just means... hang on out. So whenever you are hitting people with your passive, which is pretty much every time you use your W or your Q, you're getting a reduced cooldown. You're reducing the cooldown of the ability. So we can see here we're going for a bit of a team fight. Again, we use our W to clean it up as well. Yeah, so the W cooldown is reduced by 5% of the maximum whenever Siphon Soul is triggered. So whenever you use your W on an enemy target, its cooldown is slightly reduced, and whenever you hit the Q, it's reduced as well. Simultaneous triggers from multiple targets will stack the cooldown reduction. So if you hit a lot of people with the W, the cooldown is reduced quicker, like more. Again, this passive is something you don't really need to focus on. I just use my ability, especially my W, off cooldown. Constantly using it all the time whenever there's someone in range to use it. It isn't one of those abilities like the Q where you got to like make sure you use it correctly or you waste it and it's gone. The W, it's very hard to miss. See, I just put it down on the Renata, do some damage, and then it's back off cooldown because of that passive, right? So it wasn't actually 7 seconds cooldown. Because I was standing in it, it was reduced by a lot. So let's actually go through what the W actually does. So Morgana decelerates. Morgana places the W in an area for 5 seconds. Let's just quickly watch this team fight. So we get the Q on the Viego, we put the W down. You can see, I think the Riven's died, and I think she might be leaving soon. So again, we're just peeling for our Jhin. Another big plus of Morgana is the peel capabilities of her Q to try and peel enemies off your AD carry, which is what we just did there, and allows him to deal damage from range. They don't necessarily have to be ulting like that, like Jhin is doing there. But yeah, you can see here we hit the Q. GP has to flash out of her ultimate. And then we're just trying to siege and get this mid tower and get a little bit more pressure. So Riven, I hope she realizes she should probably just go bottom and yeah, defend against the Yone. Okay, so Morgana puts the W down in a target location. Again, I'll have all the examples in the top left of the screen. Which deals magic damage instantly as well as every 0.5 seconds to enemies within it. So the damage goes up by how much missing health they have. So the lower they are, the more damage it deals. So it's almost like an execute. And it also deals 155% damage against non-epic monsters, which are like jungle camps. So Morgana can actually play jungle now, kind of. I haven't tried it myself, but I will try it maybe in our Ranked Adventure series for a bit of fun. But yeah, she has like extra damage against the jungle camps, essentially. So the W, how do you use it? Essentially, you just use it off cooldown. That's how I use it. I normally hit the binds like I just did there. Then I put the W down instantly straight underneath them. Because they're bound and they can't move, so they're sitting inside my W the whole time. Maybe we could have killed him with Ignite there. I'm not too sure. I should have warded to see where he was. Unfortunately, our Jhin dies to like, I think it was like Ignite or something, which is sad. But our Belveth is here to scale us out of this game, thankfully. All right, let's go through Black Shield, which is another one of those really super impactful abilities on Morgana that you need to use correctly. Otherwise, you can leave yourself and your team very vulnerable. So Morgana active shields a target ally or herself for 5 seconds, which absorbs magic damage. Okay, so it absorbs magic damage. but it also grants crowd control immunity when the shield holds. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that she basically cancels the enemy's crowd control ability. So, for example, trying to think of a good example in this game. Nice, we get a nice kill on the Viego there. Nice pick. Like the Yone's ultimate, right? If he goes to use that ultimate that, you know, cuts through and, you know, does all that damage. If you shield the target that he's aiming at, he'll just go through them and it won't connect. Like, it will just use the shield up and it won't be used. I think I do get a good E on a Yone ultimate later on in this game. I can't quite remember. So there you go there. So we use the W, the Q, then the W combo, and we get the pick on the Yone. We try to use the ult on Fiora, but she dashes over the wall. Making sure to use our wards to get vision and brushes when we're trying to chase as well. And there's the Renata there, so we hit the bind. Unfortunately, the bind actually kills because we have a lot of damage at this point. And here I wouldn't mind taking the blue buff, so I put the W underneath just to give me some cooldown reduction. Get the 10 bucks off the barrel. So yeah, the back shield, super important ability. In this particular game, they don't have a lot of hard CC. I think the Viego has a lot. I'm not actually super familiar with Viego. I haven't played him myself, but I'm looking forward to trying him out eventually. And the Renata as well has some CC, but she's a relatively new champion, so you guys might not know what she does. So I was trying to pick an example that's quite obvious, like the Yone ultimate. So make sure you use your E when it is like a good time, especially in the early game, like when you're laning, because if you're playing like a Leona or something, or someone with the hard CC, you need to be able to shield that CC to save your team or yourself, otherwise you will die. Alright, so here we're just rotating into the Baron. Alright, so this game is looking really, really nice. Now we can just pick up another item, and come back into the game. So yeah, the Black Shield, super strong ability. One thing I will say as well about the Black Shield is that it has an AP scaling ratio. So the more AP you build, the more of a shield it gives your team. So that shield, it lasts 5 seconds. It only absorbs magic damage. So it's not the best when they have a Yone mid and they're full AD like this game. They're literally full AD. So you see how I think I got it on in time. Where I was auto-attacking the Jhin then. That must have been the Renata ult. So that the Yone CC didn't land, or came out of the CC. So unfortunately we're trying to bind. I should have flashed actually to lock the Yone there with my ultimate, but he just got out of the tether range. We end up hitting him with the bind, but this Yone is actually proving like a lot of trouble to kill. That's why I rushed the Oblivion Orb, so we can do some cut his healing. There's another surrender vote, and then we end up killing him. So we end up getting 300 gold in the end, but he ended up taking out my Jhin, which is kind of sad. You can see here, this game, although I'm doing really well, it's kind of like going a bit iffy because the enemy team's starting to scale, and I think the Riven gets triggered and leaves. So let's go through the ultimate, which is called Soul Shackles. Okay, so this ability is quite hard to use if you're super new to the game, because you might understand what it does. That's why we're here, to show you and give you a good example of when to use it. And I'll have the example in the top left as well. So Morgana, so you use it, and Morgana latches chains of energy onto nearby enemy champions over the cast time, dealing magic damage. So it does magic damage, like it's dealing damage to them while you're in range of the tether. And it tethers between herself and the target for 3 seconds, during which the targets are revealed and slowed. So you get full vision of them. If they go into a bush or something, you can still see them, and they're slowed by 20%. Morgana gains movement speed when moving towards those enemies, okay? So the idea is to tether someone and stick to them and stay on top of them, so you can complete the full ultimate, which is if the target is tethered after the duration, the same magic damage is dealt again, and they become revealed and stunned for 1.5 seconds. So you get basically another stun, similar to like your Q. It's a bit better than your Q because it's a full stun rather than a root, but it's basically the same thing. It just stops them from moving. I nearly stole that was pretty stupid for me to throw out that Q. That guy accepted his death, and I was just there. I almost stole it with the Q. Better off giving the money to Jhin at this point. But it is what it is. So a nearby enemy champion is required to cast the ability. You can't do it if there's no one. If there's no one in range. Also, like if they are nearby but you can't see them, you can't just use it as well. So what does that mean? So right now, you can see my ultimate, my eye is grayed out, so I can't actually use it because there's no one in range. As soon as we get into range in the Fiora, you can see now we can use it. Unfortunately, my Jhin just died instantly. Fiora is actually a bit of a menace at this point as she scales. Maybe we could use ultimate, but I don't think we could have tethered her for long enough to get stunned. And then I don't even think that would have mattered because the Jhin was quite close to her. And she would have died instantly. He would have died instantly. So yeah. The ultimate, you basically want to use it when you're going into the fight. You use it and then you tether everyone. You're dealing magic damage to all of them. You slow them all. And then if they still remain within your tether range, they are stunned for 1.5 seconds. After they've been stunned, if your Q is off cooldown, you can throw a Q at them and then just re-CC chain them the whole time for a very, very long time. So you can see now we have only 4 surrender votes because the Riven has quit. So it's quite sad. Unfortunately, I missed a massive bind, which is quite sad. But unfortunately, we end up getting the kill on the Fiora. So a good combination with the Soul Shackles is to use it and then Zhonya's, because the tether still remains, and then you can, you can't die, and then if they're not moving, they will be tethered, and you'll stun them. Okay, so that's the main reason why Zhonya's is actually really good on her as well. We get another kill there, so we end up being 9, 1, and 15, which is massive. You can see here I want to Q the Viego, but I have to run right up to him, and I ended up whiffing it, which is kind of sad. Because all the minions were in the way, so I had to walk past them before I could hit the Q and CC him again. But yeah, I want to try and show a good example of the Shackles Zhonya's. Maybe in the top left of the screen, if I remember, I'll do it as well. So that's basically the good combo on Morgana's, to use it and then Zhonya's, and then everyone gets stunned while you're in stasis, and then your team is there to kill them all, right? So you can't really do it when you're alone because the damage isn't high enough. But that's basically all of Morgana's abilities, guys. What I will say with these videos is they're designed to help newer players to the game. So if you've obviously got a lot of experience playing Morgana yourself, I might be saying things you already know. But if you are new to her, hopefully this video has helped and you've learned something new. Even if you're not going to play Morgana, it's good to just know what she does just when you face her. Again, it's kind of hard to hit the cube, so I use my W to clear the wolves, and then I hit the Q. And then again, my W ends up taking the kill, which is not... I don't do that on purpose. I just kind of put it down, and if they die to the W, they die to the W. You can't really do much about it, which is kind of why I like building more damage on Morgana, because at least, if this kind of happens, you're building... you're scaling a bit into the late game, which is kind of good. You're dealing more magic damage, which is good. So you can see here, I've also bought a Dark Seal in this game, and I've mentioned that in a few of my videos, but I'll quickly do a little spiel about it here today. So Dark Seal is one of those items, it's kind of like you buy it, it's 350, it's the bottom left item I have, and every time you get a kill, you get stacks of, it's called a stack or whatever, champion stacks I think it's called, where you stack it up, and then eventually you can get it to 10 stacks, and it's really cost effective for 350 gold. It's giving you a lot of decent AP, and then you have the choice to level it up into a Magi's, which is where you can stack it all the way up to 25, and it becomes a full item. So you can see that I used the E on the Velvet there to clear the CC so she can kill the Yone. So there's the Riven. She finally disconnects. So it becomes a 4v5, which is kind of sad because the game is just going to get extended out because the Yone is really, really fed. And he can split push like he's been doing and get objectives. Despite us being able to win every single team fight easily, if everyone's there, it's kind of hard if there's a split pusher because we need to react. So if we kill the Yone like we have, we need to make sure we capitalize by getting Baron or the Dragon. We do have the Cloud Soul. Not the Cloud Soul, I think we're the Hextech Soul. The Dragon Soul, which is really good as well. So in theory, we shouldn't lose, but the 4v5 makes it really, really hard. So I was thinking in my head, I was like, I'm just going to upload this game regardless, because I think it's a really good example of what Morgana can do in the early to mid game and just absolutely destroy a lot of enemy champions, especially ones that don't have a lot of mobility. I mean, Yone is the exception in this game, but the rest of them are kind of don't really have much mobility, so we can hit them very, very easily with our Q and just demolish them. Okay, so now we're just quickly trying to maybe get the Viego before he can kill our team. Fortunately, Kiana kills him. And we're just kind of waiting for the Belveth to scale out of control, which is the new champion, and we will be making a guide on her very soon as well. So subscribe if you're looking forward to that. You see here, we pick up the Magi's, and then we get a blue pot for more ability power. So up to almost 450 ability power, and that'll hit 500 if we stack up the Magi's. So Now that I'm kind of full build, I can afford to risk the Magi's because it's quite early. It's only, it's only 30 minutes into the game for a support item, and I'm already full for support. I'm already full build. So there's the Zhonya's tether, and then it popped, and then he died, right? So I went in, used my ultimate, then I Zhonya's, and then it was still tethered to him, and then he bounced back and he died to the. Remember when I said when the ultimate finishes, it deals all the damage back again for a second time, and that's what actually killed him in that instance. But if he didn't die, he would have been stunned, and then the Belveth could have probably killed him while I was completely immune. I could not take damage because of my Zhonya's. So once it's on cooldown, though, you got to be aware of that, that you can't do that combo anymore. So you need to more rely on using your E on yourself to not get CC'd, so you die instantly. As well. So you can see there I hovered over that little icon which is above my ignite, which just means that I get less money from clearing minions now because I have so many minion kills for support while I have the support item. I'm not actually clearing the minions to get gold. It's more to push the waves so we can actually get objectives. Like you see, I pushed that mid wave, so now we have some minions to get this mid tower and the inhibitor. It's not, you shouldn't actually take waves as a support, but in this specific case, I wanted to shove the wave in so we can get the mid wave, the mid lane inhibitor pushing. So now we're in their base a little bit, and it's kind of hard again. It's a 4v5, so we have to make sure we pick someone. So there you can see I used my E on the Belveth, so she didn't get CC'd by the Yone, and then she just goes absolutely ham. And absolutely destroyed me. I think she turned into a bad guy. I think that might be Renata's ability. I actually I've seen her in a few of my games. She's becoming quite popular, and I still haven't taken the time to research what she does and make, because I haven't made a guide on her because she's further down the A to Z, and the Belveth turned around and absolutely fucking demolished me. That was pretty funny. All right, so yeah, team turn around, get the dragon, which is kind of good. We just got to make sure we kill the Yone, who's the only threat. So now we have the Elder Dragon, which is actually a massive for our team. Fortunately, look at that. Death Dance procced? I don't know. He didn't die there despite him going below. And I saw the animation. But yeah, the healing is absolutely absurd. And I think Belveth has to get some the Mortal Reminder item to counter that Yone healing. That's absolutely insane. But it is what it is. We're not down and out yet. We're still fighting. It's quite a close game. It's quite a fun game. Just trying to make sure we hit the binds. Unfortunately, we miss. Yone is quite hard to hit in the late game because he can snap back to his shadow thing. Thankfully, the Kiana got him. That Elder Dragon actually comes in handy against champions that have a lot of healing, because once they go below that threshold, they die, right? So then the healing can't heal them out of it, despite something weird happening before. Now, what I was mentioning about the Magi's, the reason why it's good if you're already full build is if you get into a situation like this where I've died and now my stacks have gone below 10, it's not worth it to have the item anymore. I could sell the item and just get like a void staff or something, right? Another full item, because I can afford it rather than having the Magi's. Because right now it's wasting a slot in my items, right? But it's not doing as much as like a void staff would. However, if I stack it back up to 25, it'll be worth it again. So just keep that in mind. I probably should have sold it and got the void staff if I could have afforded it. You see there, Fiora can counter me a little bit with her. I didn't use my ultimate there, which is kind of a mistake. So I just Zhonya's for no reason. I should have used my ultimate and then Zhonya's. So at least if Viego takes a bit more damage, he probably would have died actually because of the tether damage. But it is what it is. It's fine. A few mistakes here. We're 11-3 in 19. I think we've had a very good game. We've taken a little bit too many kills, perhaps, but I mean, our team is scaled up anyway, so it's fine. Let's hopefully the Kiana used a fantastic ult on the Yone. Played it absolutely perfectly, but still nearly dies. Even with the Elder Dragon on her, it still almost doesn't work out because of how busted Yone is late game with all the healing and shit. Yeah, she's just gonna die. Too much to do there. So there you go. I sold my... I didn't get the Void Staff. Ended up getting a more expensive item, the Demonic Embrace, to give me a bit more tankiness and more of that burn damage. But you can see there, I sold the Magi's. Wasn't working out because I died again, lost all my stacks, so I just swap it out for another item. So we lose a little bit of AP, but we get some more tankiness and some more like damage over time effects. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to say with Morgana. And I was going to say this. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. I reply to almost every single... I do reply to every single comment in my comment section, so no exception. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them down below, and I'll answer them. I actually play a really good amount of Morgana, so she's one of those champions where I've like a lot of experience on her. She's just one of those supports that I enjoy playing because she is quite supporty, but she's also very fun with her mid lane mechanics, with her ultimate Zhonya's and stuff like that. So I find her very, very fun. Rather than the full all-out like damage support, so you can get, at least Morgana has some sort of support identity with her E and her tethers and stuff like that, and her binds, right, for the picks. That's a really good W from Jhin to lock the Yone in place. Otherwise, the Belveth would have definitely died there. So good work on the Jhin for to land that long-range W. So we can quickly mention some other items you can build. You can go Everfrost as well. I personally love the Leandries for that burn, because I just really like that burn damage, because it's really easy to hit your W, so then it's really easy to proc the Leandries and get it ticking. You can go for a bit more of a support item with the Shirelia's Battle Song, which has an active component which gives you a lot of movement speed, so you can use your ultimate and then use your Shirelia's after you've cast your ultimate to stick to the target or to use it to get in on top of the team, so then you can get a massive ultimate. So that's also a very good item. You can also go Imperial Mandate as well, because of her Q will proc it, and I think her W will proc it as well because it has a slow, which is awesome as well. So no, it doesn't have a slow. It only has a slow if you build Rylai's, right? So sometimes you can build, which is the other item I was going to say, the Crystal Scepter, so you can get the slow on the W. So you put your W down, and then your Rylai's procs, and then it slows them all down. I was a little bit slow on the E there, but I think we did okay. Here I should just Sonya's, yep, which I do, and then get my team absolutely clean up. So Belveth is absolutely insane at late game, like actually nuts. What the fuck is that? So funny. It's a really cool champ. I'm looking forward to making the guide on her. I haven't had a chance to play yet. I literally don't have enough Blue Essence to purchase her, but I am getting close. So also another good thing about Morgana late game is her wave clear is actually really, really strong for a support. Not a lot of supports have that cool perk about them, and that's basically because of her mid lane identity. And also she's got a little bit of that jungle clear thing about her now with her W. So Morgana can absolutely laser waves, which is really, really good. If you're trying to set up your team. So you can see here we've got mid lane pushed in. So my team is just kind of doing whatever. So I just think, okay, no. Let's push out the bottom wave. That way, if we get a fight going after this Elder Dragon and we kill them all, at least we have a wave pushing so we can get another inhibitor if we need it, right? So that's why I'm pushing this out. My team doesn't need me on the Elder Dragon, so I'm going to push out this wave. Just don't forget that Morgana is a very heavily team fight champion, right? So you need to be with the fight with your team, CCing, peeling for your big carry. So in this game, it's no longer the Jhin now, it's the Belveth that I'm trying to peel and carry. Nice bind over the wall there for myself to guarantee the kill. You can see there, I don't know what the hell that was, the Belveth turned into an enemy and just fucking lasered the Kiana. One of the best things I love about League of Legends is just the way it changes over time, and just all new champions come out, and you know, you get to experience different unique things like that I've never seen before, which is kind of fun. So you can see here I made the decision to just try and shove and just hopefully my team can to win, but then losing, so I like panic back because we need to make sure the Yone can't end the game, because that'll be no good. And unfortunately he died as I got there, right? So in hindsight I should have stuck next to their base. I would have been able to get the inhibitor bot side, and I would have got all 3 inhibitors, or even potentially got a tower down. So that's why I would chuck up the fizz emote, which is unfortunate. But I couldn't risk it. If Jhin died, then we lose the game, right? So it wasn't worth the risk. But in hindsight, I could have stayed and it would have been fine. So this game is actually nonsense. 40 minutes. The 4v5 made it kind of close. But we got 30 seconds till Yone spawn, so we need to do something with it. Again, I don't need gold at this point. I'm getting reduced minion gold for killing minions, but I'm full build. I'm just trying to shove waves so we can get pressure on the map, right? That's the reason why I'm killing minions. It wouldn't hurt to push tab and have a look to see if that's the same case for all my teammates. Like the Jin, if he hasn't got full items yet, I'll let him clear the wave. His wave clear is actually amazing versus me. My wave clear is probably even quicker because of his, the way his auto attacks work. But you can see here we shield the Kiana, let her go in, or we tried to shield her. I think she just got out of range, and then she ends up cleaning up everyone here, and she gets Jin gets a double kill. We get the pretty much ace. Yone is alive. He is their biggest threat, but I think we can 3v1 this tower here and end the game. Holy shit, we demolished towers. And that's the end of the game, guys. So, thank you guys so much for watching. A little bit of a longer one. I hope you enjoyed the game itself. It was a bit of a fun, long game. A nice example of what Morgana can do in the early game with the early harass and the poke and the mid and the roams to the mid lane, which helped us out. And also the late game team fighting. Hope you got a nice example of everything for Morgana. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.